Am I the jerk for forcing my tenants out of the house I own when their lease expired? I, 46F, own a second property aside from my own house. I was given this second home as an inheritance after my grandparents passed around 10 years ago. It's a modest 3-bedroom townhouse in my city. When it was passed down to me, my husband, 51M, and I decided that we would rent it out and keep it until our son, 17M, goes off to college, and then sell it to be able to pay for his college tuition when the time comes. About 7 years ago, a younger couple moved in and they have 4 kids with another on the way now. Since the mortgage was already paid off when I received the property, my husband and I decided to charge them fairly below the market rent in our area. $2,000 a month is the current lease, because we understood the position of the family and were already benefiting from our equity anyway. Before they even moved in, we made it very clear that we had the intention of selling this property in 2023, because when our son went off to college, we would need it for tuition, and have continuously reminded them this over the years. They agreed and said they understand the circumstances and we had no issues until their final lease was up in April 2023, and they basically refused to move out. I've gone over and spoken to them multiple times, and the wife is basically saying I'm trying to take their home away from them, especially when she is heavily pregnant. I've even tried to offer that they can buy the property off of us at a discounted rate from what we would usually ask for, but they just refused any other outcome. She's a stay-at-home mom, and from what I've been told, her husband works but doesn't make enough to pay a higher rent, which is why we started charging below market rent for 7 whole years. They're essentially squatters in the property now, and I've recently had the help of my real estate agent, lawyers, and local police department to have them removed from the property because there's a sale pending with a potential buyer. Now the wife is absolutely bashing me around the community and on Facebook about how I kicked them out even though their lease was up 2 months ago. I know legally I'm completely in the right, but I've had multiple people reach out to me and tell me that I should have more sympathy for them and to not be greedy. My husband and I think we've been sympathetic in giving them discounted rent, but it was always clear to them that the house would be sold as it is our only way to send our kid to college without any student loans. So, am I the jerk? Now, I know for people watching this, there are going to be 2 main camps. There's going to be the we hate landlords camp, and there's going to be being a landlord is a efficient way to make money camp. Probably unsurprisingly, I'm going to land somewhere in the middle. On one hand, I get how, the presence of, overabundance of landlords and people buying up property just to rent it out is causing a housing crisis, essentially. And how a lot of people are now being priced out of homes because of people holding on to them to rent them out. However, that doesn't really seem to be applicable here, in my opinion. First of all, they were not renting it out in order to, make money. It wasn't their main source of income or anything like that. And it seems like if the people they were leasing to were leasing for 7 years, they were pretty decent landlords as well. And seriously, depending on where they live, that rent price could be very nice for a 3-bedroom. Wow. If they truly were as transparent about selling the place as they say they have been with the tenants, then the tenants really shouldn't have been caught off guard by this, and that's completely on them. Even a year out from this, they should have been looking at other places to live, you know? That makes sense to me. I think they should have just examined their options earlier if they truly did know this was coming. The whole thing of offering to sell the house to them at a discounted price, that's nothing. That is a non-solution because obviously they can't afford it. For one, OP said they could barely pay their rent. So how would OP expect them to take out a mortgage and pay it off per month if they can barely pay off $2,000 a month? That's just a nonsensical, quote-unquote, solution to the problem. Either way, if OP really was as forthcoming about selling the house for the past 7 years as they say they were, then not the jerk. Am I the jerk for not apologizing to my girlfriend's parents? I, 17M, am moving in with my girlfriend, 17F, and her parents. I do not get along with them very well, but have been trying to make it work. They had just bought a new kitchen appliance set. Yesterday, I was alone in the house and decided to make dinner for the family. After preheating the oven, it began to smoke. I called my girlfriend's mom not knowing what to do, but was brought to voicemail. To my surprise, I unknowingly melted a plastic dish cover, causing the oven to smoke, as well as leaving an odd plastic coating throughout the oven. Keeping in mind I have never lived in a household that stores things in the oven, my girlfriend's mom calls me back after I've already removed everything inside the oven. I tell her what happened and she starts yelling at me through the phone that I am stupid for not opening it to check before turning it on, and to stop cooking because she doesn't want her kitchen destroyed. Later that night, when everyone arrived home, I did not say much due to the confrontation we had on the phone. I don't do well with conflict and tend to get very anxious. My girlfriend told me that I should have apologized to them for almost ruining their brand new oven and melting the plastic. Me being upset and stubborn, I don't feel the need to apologize for the accident, seeing that this is not the first time her mom has blown up on me for a simple mistake. Am I the jerk? Am I the jerk for making my parents choose between me and my brother? I, 21M, have a brother Tim, 24M. Ever since we were young, he's always bullied me for not being as smart as him and sneering at my passion for sports. Our parents tried to stop him, but Asian household meant that they valued brains over brawn, so he was always favored growing up. Less so now as I have a stable job and I'm able to show my worth. I still do love them, but not Tim. He can't bully me as much as I outmuscle and outsize him, but the insults and jabs over 10 years are a sticking point. End of last year, I came out as gay. My parents took time to accept it. Dad is even going to Asian support groups to find out more. Tim, however, went off the rocker, verbally screaming at how I was a disgrace and a shame. I must have ruined our genes, mocking whether or not I had a real dong. Mom says that he just needs more time to process, but he's shown none of that. He's just gotten worse and joined this religious group at his university. This weekend, I came home late to find my room had been emptied completely. My clothes, posters, all my gym and sports equipment, all my books, everything gone. The only thing intact was my laptop. I asked my parents and they had no idea as they were out and left the house to Tim and his project group, calling him downstairs, and he said that he was curing my perverted ways and that him and his religious group are going to change me for the better. I won't repeat all that he said, but he made a list of everything he threw out and why each of them made me a pervert. Among the items he threw out was a signed item worth $1,200. I am finally fed up and straight up told my parents that either he stays or I stay, but I'm not living with someone who hates me. I recounted being young with him, and his bullying, insulting, stealing, and ruining my stuff. This wasn't the first. I made it clear that while I love them, if they supported Tim ruining my life, I was cutting off contact. I grabbed my laptop and bag because I had nothing left, and left, staying at a friend's place. I've cooled down, and called my mom saying that I won't cut off contact, but while Tim is still living at home, I won't ever be visiting. She has begged me to reconsider, and said that we can still fix the relationship and that she and Dad are getting my stuff back, but I am adamant that I can't coexist with Tim. I have money saved up so I can rent and survive easily enough, so living is not an issue for me, unlike Tim who's still studying. My parents support my decision to move out, but my relatives have been saying that I'm going overboard, that I shouldn't punish my parents for what Tim did, that I should still show filial piety. They all say I'm a jerk for forcing my parents between two sons, even if Tim is wrong. I am close to my relatives. I have a cousin who may as well be my actual brother, and even he thinks I shouldn't have been so aggressive cutting Tim out. I do feel bad for my parents, but I don't think I'm wrong to try and get away from that toxicity. Am I the jerk? The classic thing of Asian families being very, very family-oriented, and that causing issues when family members don't get along. And just for the record, I'm not fully stereotyping here, I am Chinese. Anyway, it really sounds like OP's brother just went nuts, and OP removing himself from that situation is completely within his right. Yes, it sucks. His parents want to be closer to him, and it's hard picking between two kids. And it's even harder to see when a kid does something wrong when it's your own kid. I get that. At the same time, OP needs to take care of himself first. It's going to do no good for him in the long run just purposefully keeping himself in an environment that's terrible for him. That's just true. Honestly, as far as Asian parents go, these sound like really accepting and kind parents, so big props to them. I just kind of hope everything works out. OP is obviously not the jerk here, but yeah, just hoping for all the best. Am I the jerk for banning my daughter from seeing her boyfriend? I, F49, went with my husband on a trip for 2 days, leaving my son, M12, and daughter, F17, home alone. I did not know my daughter had a boyfriend before this. Through our gardener, I found out that my daughter's boyfriend has been staying over without my permission for 2 nights. I got angry at my daughter and banned her from seeing him and took away her going out privileges. She told me that she's sorry she didn't ask for permission, but she said that she knew I wouldn't say yes, and she wanted a male figure around to feel safer. I still think that it was inappropriate for him to stay the night. Am I the jerk? Now, while if I were a parent, I wouldn't have the same restrictions as this mother probably would, I have a feeling that she wouldn't have said yes, it's true. I also have to respect the fact that it is her house. And what her daughter essentially did was invite a random person that her mother didn't know at all into her mother's house. If he had done anything like stolen or broken something or caused any sort of damage or harm to her daughter even, her mother would feel partly responsible, and that's not really fair. Banning her from seeing her boyfriend doesn't seem like the correct solution, and I hope OP figures out a better one, but I do think that the daughter is in the wrong here. At least a little bit. These sort of things need to be talked out beforehand. So yeah, I gotta say OP is not the jerk, even though I would never make the same restrictions myself. For my kids, I mean. Am I the jerk for banning my girlfriend and her friends from the cars? I, 27M, live with my girlfriend, 25F. I work as a mechanic while she works in HR at an engineering firm. Her best friend also works at her firm as a civil engineer. My girlfriend had her friends over for an evening get-together last night. They can get a bit drunk and rowdy, and while they aren't bad people, I'd prefer not to be around them when they get to that stage. So I plan to retreat to my friend's house for a quiet night of pizza and video games. Unfortunately, my car chose that moment to have a flat battery. To be fair, it was getting a bit old. My girlfriend's car was parked next to mine in the garage, though. Seeing as I would have to get my car to my workshop the next day, I decided instead of taking my girlfriend's car that I would just jumpstart my car with hers and drive it around a bit now to give it enough charge to last until tomorrow when I could replace the battery at work. I had fished the jumper cables out when my girlfriend and her friends stagger out. My girlfriend asks me why I'm still here, and I show her the jumper cables and tell her that I'm working on getting out. Her civil engineering friend sees that I'm preparing to jumpstart the car and tells me that she can do it for me. I say that I'm fine and that I will be quick and she can go back to having fun inside. She doesn't take no for an answer and grabs the cables. I protest, but her friends gang up on me and ask if I think she doesn't know how. The friend connects everything and gets in my girlfriend's car and is about to start it when I see that she has connected the black cable to the negative terminal of my dead car, instead of a metal ground part of my car. I shout at her to stop and quickly snatch the key away from her to prevent her from starting the car and starting an explosion. I start yelling at my girlfriend and her friends to tell them to get lost back into the house and not blow up my car. I also tell them that they are banned from ever getting in, touching, or riding in my or my girlfriend's car. They are upset, but go back inside muttering about how I am a massive jerk. Am I the jerk? I have been in these sort of, environments where someone gets in a near-death situation that, ends catastrophically. And strangely, an observer, especially if it's their property, can be, really upset about it. So, while in a vacuum, I guess, if we're just looking at, what happened and the reaction seems a bit overblown. It totally makes sense, I think, considering that she almost killed herself and blew up a car. Or two. I don't actually think OP is the jerk here. Well, hold on. The punishment that OP put into place, or the restriction, I guess, is a bit weird. Never being able to get in either car, that just doesn't make sense. Also, OP doesn't have the right to say who gets in his girlfriend's car. That is definitely too far, but even his own car, it's weird. They're not going to jump the car every time they're in it. Getting really upset, not the jerk. The punishment itself is kind of weird. Maybe the jerk? I'm not sure. Am I the jerk? My mother changed my birthday plans behind my back, then spam texted me my birthday night and day about how much I hurt her. I, 27F, wanted a chill birthday with my support system because life is hard recently. I had a party Friday night of 12 friends. I just wanted on my real birthday, Saturday, to eat cheap food on the waterfront and watch the sunset with my 2 sisters and best friend. The Friday, my mother calls to speak to me about my plans. I tell her and arrange plans to see her after work Saturday before dinner. I get a call from my sisters after about how my mother came home yelling about not being invited to be with us. 20 minutes later, I get a message in our family group chat. Saturday, I made reservation at 7 at this restaurant. So I explained that I don't appreciate them changing plans on me and that isn't what I want to do. My father starts texting me, "You are unbelievable. Your mother just wanted to see you. You successfully made her cry all day. How dare you? We asked before to see you. You refuse, etc., etc., etc." And then when I responded explaining what happened, he ignored me and declined my calls. I sent 30 plus texts to my parents individually and together explaining I'm happy to celebrate with them, but didn't appreciate them changing my plans without telling me or asking me. Once the party started, her mother sent me hundreds of texts about how she's never been hurt so bad in her life except for by me, how she can't stop crying and congratulating me for making that happen, etc. And when she heard I was spending my own birthday party crying in the bathroom, only until 10:30 p.m., then I put my phone away for the night, she goes, "Me too." Then midnight rolls around and she says, "Happy birthday. I won't be talking to you tomorrow." The next day, my father doesn't even call me. My mother is still spam texting me. I sent well over 50 apologies and explanations and did book a restaurant dinner for 6 p.m. to see them. My mother is upset that it's not at 7 p.m. The morning of my birthday, my father sent a text about how he wants to not see us anymore. We're not a family. This is awful. All because of me. My mother sent me plenty of texts about how because of me, she feels like she has no family. So yes, I caved and did the restaurant. She is still explaining how hurt she is, and when we spoke the day after about how it was all misinterpreted, she refused. In the end, they're passing over it. We're fine, but no apology or acknowledgement. Am I the jerk for wanting an apology? Am I the jerk for wanting to be as far away from them as possible next year? Now this is definitely a post that belongs on r/entitled parents. In short, no, OP is not the jerk whatsoever, at all. OP, as an adult, a 27-year-old adult, made plans for her birthday. Those plans were then changed by someone who didn't ask her and who just felt entitled to being able to do whatever they wanted on OP's birthday. In the name of OP's birthday, by the way. So basically, oh, we're celebrating you, but we're also not respecting what you want. So yeah, OP's not the jerk. This is an entitled parent situation for sure. Am I the jerk for not helping my mom walk our dogs when a storm was approaching? We live in the lightning capital of the United States. I have a big fear of lightning and storms in general, especially since we have had our livestock hit and killed by it in the field in the past. Rest in peace, Thor the pony. Your name was ironic. Anyway, my mom tells me we have to walk the dogs before the storm happens so they can pee. I insist they can go in the backyard for 3 seconds to pee and come back inside. She says that's unfair and they're used to a walk. Thunder was already booming and the clouds looked nasty. It got to the point where we had leashes on the dogs and were halfway on the driveway and a huge thunder crackled. I said, hell no, let's please go inside. She angrily tells me to just hand the dogs over to her and she'll do it herself. More thunder crackled, so I just threw her the leash and ran back inside. Now she's back 20 minutes later and the thunder is raging, but she's still annoyed at me. Now, it wasn't raining at this point, nor could I visibly see lightning, but our home has nearly been hit several times this year. Am I the jerk, or should I have just sucked it up and walked the dogs? I think it's a super unreasonable ask from the OP's mother to walk the dogs in what is essentially dangerous weather. Sure, your odds of getting hit are really low, but like, if you had a chance of 0.0001% of dying, or you could choose 0% of dying, what would you choose? My money's on the 0%. Also, the walk seems super unnecessary. It's so true, the dogs can just go in the backyard, do their business, and come back in. Oh no, it's not what they're used to. They're used to peeing on walks or whatever. Stupid. Just let them go in the backyard and come back in. Problem solved. Don't have to go for a walk in a thunderstorm. OP is not the jerk.